everyone, and welcome back. Star Ladder Season 12, China. And we got a bit of a barn burner here. LGD Gaming taking on TongFu. We have made it into Game 3. Hype. First game, it was TongFu looking very impressive on the back of a sniper. And, well, LGD Gaming couldn't really make it work with the Naga. But Game 2, they put it more behind Sylar and his Morphling, and everything just goes splendidly. They get all the farm they want on the supports, on their Morphling. It's just a beautiful thing. So now here we are, Game 3. Let's see which team is going to go ahead and muscle on forward in hopes to make it to Stage 2, where they'll be in a 4-team double elimination bracket to battle it out for a chance to make it to the Star Ladder LAN Final. Bringing you the coverage along the way and at that final is Beyond the Summit. I'm KotLGuy Beyond the Summit, and I got my good buddy Basskip still with me by my side. And, man, I hope you're ready for some Game 3 hype. And it looks like to start off this draft, we're going to see the first Bat Rider of the series in the hands of LGD.
Yeah, they take the bat, but they let TongFu have the Venge, so they must have some plan in mind. Is this the silencer? Are they going to take the silencer to cover their Bat Rider? Because if they pop the global silence whenever the bat goes in, you can't get swapped. So maybe there's something along those lines as the plan here for LGD.
I never thought of that, and that's something that all the other regions don't really go for. They could have just as easily considered going for... I mean, because I would imagine some team, if the Bat Rider's not banned, they might not feel comfortable getting a first solo pick Bat Rider unless they could get the second pick Bat Rider plus the Vengeful Spirit maybe on the same side, or at least make sure you ban out the Vengeful Spirit. But you don't really want to first ban the Vengeful Spirit. You need to make sure you get rid of some of those disgusting heroes. Remaining. So I can see where it could be very awkward. But for these teams who do like to utilize a hero like Silencer, you do make a good point. And I would not be surprised if LGD do consider grabbing that silencer. We'll see if that's going to be the case. But for now, at least, they grab a hold of Shadow Fiend. So, well, it looks like we're going to have another maybe Shadow Fiend on the hand. And, well, they could make a pretty good Roche lineup. I wonder if they would consider a jungle kind of lineup. I don't know if I've seen MMY really work with the jungle a whole lot. But a Chen could do them a little bit of work here. We'll have to see if it's something they consider.
Yeah, I mean, 5-manning is very effective to a point against Storm Spirit. He can sometimes have a little bit of difficulty jumping into a death ball, assuming that there's the appropriate amount of stuns ready to lock him down. So that's something Chen-related could work pretty nicely. The one weird thing for this game is LGD's opening bans somewhat. They got rid of Phoenix and Clockwork to begin with. I don't know if they're specifically targeting one player there. I don't know if Zex Bingo, their offlane player, if these are two of his more comfortable heroes or something along those lines. But Xiaowei seemed very didn't hesitate too much on either of those bans. So there must be something in particular that he's going for here. There's still an Axe in the pool. There's still your Lion in the pool.
Jug is still in there if they wanted to go. Yeah, that for a core on either side. But for LGD, I don't think Sylar's a Jug player. He's more of the classics, like we already saw. The Naga, the Morphling, Medusa, stuff like that. Stuff like that 4 Protect 1 kind of a thing where someone like maybe will be able to create the space. Like he did so well in that game with Storm Spirit. I mean, they didn't even need to create the space for Sylar in that one. Sylar already had found his way. So, we'll see if they're going to be able to be as fortunate with that, or at least maybe find something that can build on top of this Bat Rider. We've seen some of these teams also grab something like Skywrath Mage, which could work very nice for LGD. You get the silence for Storm Spirit and Venge, and on top of the Bat Rider lasso, you could just drop down that Mystic Flare, and well, things can go pretty good there. So we'll see if it's something they go for. But for TongFu, a disgusting Viper has made it onto their turf.
Viper is not a hero that we see all that much of. So if this is the pick now for TongFu, I feel like there must be something else coming up a little bit later that they're trying to
10 seconds remaining.
Trying to potentially conceal. On the one hand, he is very, very good in terms of it looks like he's probably, or he might be run safe lane. So he is pretty decent at zoning out offlaners and bullying them. So it could just be making potential space for a melee support of some kind. We saw the Omni Knight a little bit earlier today as a partner to go along with the Storm Spirit. That's something that they could maybe get away with when they have a laner like the Viper in their midst. But LGD just gonna, I think,
Radiant
secure
team
that
pick.
Roshan potential and give themselves some good lockdown against the Storm in one fell swoop. I think the Shadow Shaman is a really solid grab here for them.
Yeah. You know, and it's funny to see them choose Shadow Shaman over a Lion. Someone else who kind of fits the same profile as far as the lockdown goes. They each have, you know, a Hex and then some sort of way to lock someone still. But the difference becomes that Shadow Shaman's more objective based, where Lion just where you want to have the burst there. So
10 seconds
that kind of puts a message out there that LGD
5
might
seconds
consider putting
remaining.
together a bit of a push lineup. And I would normally throw out the casual Lycan, but I don't know if
Reserve
LGD are a Lycan kind of a team. But if they do want to go with push and Roche, they already got a nice formula here. So I'm curious to see what they're going to look to build on top of it. But it's TongFu's next pick. They need another support, and they need potentially their offlaner here. So the options that are left, a Tidehunter could still be there. Centaur's been picked up occasionally, Bristleback, but it looks like for their fourth pick, it will be a Zeus. Not sure yet if this is going to be offlaner support, but now they got the global presence, they got extra vision, they got dewarding, and it will be the Medusa for Sylar.
TongFu's turn
Okay,
to
just
ban.
LGD sticking, like you said, to the classics, to things that are tried and tested for Sylar here. So they've got they've got Shadow Fiend and Medusa. They've got themselves a fantastic amount of late game.
10 seconds
Medusa is a
remaining.
hero that can be, it's pretty difficult, I would say, for Storm Spirit to pick off
5 seconds
just by
remaining.
himself. So they've got that going for them. One thing for TongFu's lineup is it's a little bit weird in terms of
Reserve
who
time.
necessarily is going to be laning where. Like you said, it could be support Zeus, could be offlane Zeus. If they really, really want the Storm Spirit to farm up, they could potentially put him down on the safe lane. But again, I think they're probably putting the Viper down there just so that they can keep the pressure on the Bat as much as possible and zone him out, even when you've got a somewhat weak zoning support like the Vengeful Spirit. So TongFu actually digging pretty deep into their reserve time here to decide what this last support that they want to get rid of is, and just gonna be the Skywrath Mage. Okay.
I like the ban on Nyx
Radiant
Assassin. I was going to
team
casually throw that one out as well as a potential option, but they could also go for a core carry here if it's a support Zeus and anti-mage is out there. They just played it in the last game, so it could be something they consider. But then it's a hard game for an AM as well. I mean, Shadow Shaman's got plenty of lockdown, and Bat Rider as well. But with the ban on Skywrath Mage, maybe it is something they consider. Just maybe
10
could have been nervous
seconds
more about
remaining.
the silence and the pressure early on. So we'll find out in a moment where this Zeus
5
is going to end
seconds
up here.
remaining.
But they got to find a way to take it back to Medusa, and it's going to be a faceless
LGD
void.
Gaming's
Okay,
turn to
interesting. Very interesting.
I think this is your Diffusal Manta Faceless Void instead of your Mask of
Oh.
Madness BKB Void. So I think this is for the Medusa, honestly. It's not something that you always think about, but Void does have that alternate build path. The other thing to mention, of course, is that he can still go Mask of Madness if he wants, because Diffusal Blade is no longer an orb effect.
10
So
That's right.
seconds remaining.
he can actually incorporate it a little bit better into the standard build.
5 seconds
And I
remaining.
think I like the Void pick here, for that reason. They are,
Reserve time.
you know, they're not actually that squishy. I guess this does mean that this is a support Zeus, after all.
Yeah.
They could do all kinds of weird things, I guess. But I think, is it actually Void offlane? I think that's the other question.
Yeah.
Void off, Storm mid, Viper safe. They could try and do something weird offlane because they're Radiant with the Viper, but I do think the farm on the Void is going to be important. So, because otherwise, why do you pick it? I mean, and the initiation is nice, but anyway.
They have to know that this is going to be a mid lane Medusa, possibly. I feel like when LGD play the Medusa, they have Sylar mid lane with it. So it's just a matter of if they would prefer a Viper or a Storm to be there on the other side, I suppose. We'll have to see what they want to go for here. LGD, though, they're also sweating at the clock for the last
10
pick. They see a
seconds
void,
remaining.
and maybe they get a potential Yules candidate, someone who can,
5
make
seconds
sure
remaining.
Void can't easily go on a
Dazzle?
tear.
Witch Doctor.
Witch Doctor.
Okay. Hey, I mean, it works good. You can't drop the Death Ward inside a Chrono anymore, but you could still place it on the outside, and your Void's like, ugh, do I could commit for this fight, or do I risk eating all that big damage? And now it's like, I got to make sure I get that Witch Doctor inside the Chronosphere. So I like that grab. Now it makes more sense why TongFu might have considered that ban as well onto Skywrath Mage. They might have already had the idea of going for Faceless Void, and Skywrath Mage is one of those heroes that it can work great with Faceless Void, but it can work just as good against the Faceless Void. So, okay, well, there it is. That's our draft, and this is game number 3 between TongFu and LGD. I'll just quickly fly through some of the introductions so we can get it on over with. On the side of LGD Dire's side, we got maybe who's going to be playing your Shadow Fiend. MMY, Momoyan, X, Weapon X, whatever the hell you want to call him. He's going to be playing your Shadow Fiend. And as your support, Zhao Wei, the director, he's playing your Witch Doctor. Sylar on a Medusa. No surprises there. And last but not least, it's going to be Yao, who's playing your off-lane Bat Rider. Got to make sure we lead things in with a pause, though. But Basskip, if you wouldn't mind, now you get the luxury of introducing Team TongFu. Take your time, because I don't know how long this pause is going to last, so...
I probably need to reconnect as well. Everything's slideshow, but I can still introduce regardless because I can open up the score screen. So over on TongFu, we have LPC on your support Zeus. We have Zex Bingo on what is looking like an offlane Faceless Void this game. We've got U9 on your Viper. We've got King J handling the Vengeful Spirit, and finally Jinkyu had a very impressive sniper performance in game 1. This time around, he's going to be handling the Storm Spirit.
Yeah, very different character profile. Yeah, another mid laner, I suppose, but not quite like your sniper. Sniper is more got to be on a good defensive positioning where you can make the most out of it. Storm Spirit, you kind of need to play balls to the wall. You have to know when the right time is to commit, and if you want to be able to snowball, you got to find the right opportunity to be able to get those support picks. A good example of that was, well, last game on the side of LGD, and what really maybe was able to do with it. So, take notes from that, I suppose. But it looks like we're gonna have more lag, unfortunately. 100 is pretty normal. I mean, 100 isn't crazy. I think some players would be okay with that.
It's about what you're used to. It really is. Like if you're used to playing on 20 to 30 ms, then 100 can feel really sluggish. It's totally. I mean, Australian servers had this back when there weren't Australian servers, and we all had to play US West. A lot of people got used to playing at pretty high ms, and then once Australian servers came out, nobody ever touched West ever again because it just feels way too laggy. So.
And back in my day in Dota 1, you were lucky to have 140 or 180 ping in a game. Not everyone had your sweet and luxurious broadband internet.
Yeah.
But they're going to have to make sure that if they've been committed to this 30 ping and low delay threshold, they want to stick with it. So I can respect that decision. And, well, we're already back in a lobby here. We got all 10 players. Casper's like, "Yeehala, let's go," so we can get the show on the road. We're going into the early morning territory here as it's about to be 8 a.m. for my side. What time is it where you are?
It's coming up on 1 a.m.
1 a.m. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's not too bad. That's like sweet chill at the night, maybe lay in bed and enjoy some quality.
I got university tomorrow. I just want to get this game and then sleep as much as possible, and then university.
Oh wow. Okay. Well.
Oh well.
I definitely appreciate you sticking it out with me. Sorry about the.
Nah, dude. No, I want to cast it. Cast it.
It's unfortunate hiccups near the back end. We made it so good through the first series, and then even the first game of this series, and then all of a sudden it
happens.
Yeah, whatever. Well, we'll see as the go, and after start will be no remake. Okay, looks like Casper might be putting his admin foot down. So I guess it's his say. It's Star Ladder tournament. He is one of these Star Ladder heads. So I'm just a caster. I like to throw that one out, but we'll see. As finally they give us the go ahead, and we'll get started. All right.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
One thing to remind everybody is the stakes of this particular game. So it's one apiece.
Mm-hmm.
If LGD win, they are currently 1-1 in the group. So they'll go to 2-1, and they will be second, and they'll be through. And that means that the group A is pretty much over. If TongFu win, they'll be up to 1-1. LGD will drop down to 1-2. and then LGD's fate is totally out of their own hands. So it's for LGD, they really want this win, and for TongFu, well, they really want it as well because that's the only way that they can stand any kind of a chance. I'm once again just going to say that I really like this format of. I mean, it works because there's only 8 teams, obviously, but splitting it up like this makes every match count for so much more.
Yeah, it just seems like everybody always has a different opinion on each its own side. I didn't get the opportunity to ask someone like Aoi about it. I think LD was not a fan of this. I think he would rather just be the bracket right off the bat. So I mean, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I don't mind that either. But I mean, as an alternative to an 8-man, 8-team round robin, I think it's way better than an 8-team round robin.
Totally understandable. Yeah, the round robins could be a bit crazy, and I know a lot of the players are not very, keen to the whole a bunch of best of ones, because sometimes you need to kind of feel out your opponent, kind of see where you stand, have that maybe one game to shake off. That could be what LGD's thinking. I mean, if this was a best of one, they would have just had a loss to TongFu, and we would have been moving on. But now, if they're able to pull back at game number 3, it's a whole different story. So I could see where there's definitely justification with having these best of 3 series. So. Yeah, I agree with you. I really like it. And then we also get the benefit of a bracket there in stage 2. So we get a lot of sweet action here. But it looks like we're back in. We got AP, so everyone's picked up their hero. We just need to get it all situated. The clock will tick and go on down, and we'll hop on in and give it another go.
When did they fix the all pick screen? Because I remember for the longest time, if you're spectating an all pick game, you'd be lucky if like 1 or 2 of the heroes showed up, but here's everybody. So I guess somewhere along the line they fixed it, and I never noticed. But
oh really? I never even heard of that. I knew the problem with doing a remake into AP was that the timers were going to be off, and the creeps spawned at a different time. So if you wanted to go like aggressive into the jungle and plant some wards, or if you wanted to take advantage of something like that, it wasn't going to work. But they did finally patch that one in. But I had never heard of the whole missing hero thing.
Yeah, it just they showed up at the top, but they just didn't show up in the little cards. Oh. And they'd only show up right as the timer got to 0-0. So it didn't actually show all the picks. It was like that forever, but it looks like they have fixed it. So there you go. I get to see who's who and get ourselves underway.
Speaking of being able to see who's who and seeing the heroes, one thing that did make me laugh when I was here is, and this wasn't the first time I heard it, when you're in the caster's position, kind of, working with the draft, we don't get to see the hero pool. So when you're just making, theory crafts as far as what could be next, for me, it's coming all from the noggin, That's why typically my theory crafting is so terrible. But, you get these players who are like, I wish I could see the hero pool. And I'm like, yeah, right? You don't get that luxury of being able to work with it like they do when they're going into the draft. They have that whole pick screen over there. And he actually had a hard time figuring out who was Radiant and who was Dire. It's just funny to hear it from a player's perspective. They rarely get to see that kind of a screen when you're trying to, theory craft. So that was just something that made me chuckle.
Yeah, it's totally different. The other funny thing about the draft screen is that all of the names are really weird. Begins. Like some heroes, you can't search for them by their Dota 2 names. You can only search by their Dota 1 names, and there's some weird kind of stuff going on there. But oh well, it seems to work. Nobody really complains too much. So.
Yeah, seems like one of those things that I don't want to say anything that maybe someone might be lazy about changing and updating those little things. And it might take a quick text file update, but we got Source 2. That's gonna solve everything. It's gonna cure cancer. We're good with that. We'll just wait till Source 2 comes out. But here we go. Back underway. Mid lane, it's dual lane action. Look at these supports. Man up on each other. Boom, bang. No, it's me. It's you. King J and Zhao Wei man fighting it. It's King J who's winning so far. They're not letting up. He throws out the coconut. She throws out the stun. She wants the first blood. Can she get an uphill miss? She needs one more. Boom, got it. Oh, that was a man fight of support play, and it's King J who walks away the victor. Oh, that was ridiculous. Both mid laners are like, what the hell are our supports doing right now? That's hilarious.
Zhao needed to check the VS's inventory and realize that she had boots and just call for the SF to come over. Quick smart, because there was absolutely no chance of him winning that, unfortunately.
So funny, but All right, so let's look at the lane setup here. We got Faceless Void who's going to run in a dual lane setup with the Zeus taking on Sylar's Medusa. Nearby, it's MMY who's going to be working with that Equilibrium, doing with the early pull. He's got a double stack here, and that's going to wipe out one of the waves and remove that extra bit of XP. After Zhao 8 was brought down, he's now going to be joining Yao at the bottom with his Bat Rider. Going with U9 here, so let's see. U9, does he have the early magic stick? He doesn't, and well, it's very curious. Vengeful Spirit actually looked like she had to head back to base. She has a smoke now, but she's walking back to lane, and well, she's got, look at this nice little treasure trove of inventory. Got a couple of sweet little gauntlets of strength. It looks like she's going right for an urn.
Yeah, when you punch the Witch Doctor to death to start the game, you can afford a couple of items. So, yeah, King J getting there.
Oh, raise onto Jin Q. He better be careful here. Maybe thinks about going for the long range hit. Maybe if he got that one auto attack, it could have been close, but he decides to pull back instead. So not going to be there. And meanwhile above, sapping some of the XP is LPC, who's going to just zap and try to snag some of the creeps there from above, and he'll have access towards that rune. But look at
Zhao 8's revenge.
Aha, you fool, I'm back! And wow, quick kill right there, and a snipe going to be coming out from your shadow.
King J again.
Uh-oh. Hey, you! What the hell are you doing back here? King J wants to get hold of Zhao 8. He's trying to heal. And with that heal, he should be able to make it away. He already ate the stun, so this time he will not be brought down.
It does manage to escape, so yeah. Gets his revenge, gets out. Both teams putting so much pressure on the mid lane at the moment in terms of their supports, and is it really translating into much of an advantage either way? Not really. 10-3, 10-3. Pretty even CS scores between the two mids at the moment.
So, as we see here, I'm curious, these supports need to be stacking up this jungle. We got LGD, their Bat Rider, would certainly love to have that. And for TongFu, it's just King J working with his own pull-through. But look at this. MMY could be up in arms here with LPC. LPC scouts him out and dishes off just a little bit of nuke here. He's trying to prevent him from getting that pull-through, but it looks like it will be successful. Though it's with a catapult, this tomato will be dropped quickly, and they should be able to reclaim the creep wave here. So, awkward tension between both sides, but nothing really too serious. Sylar still continues to find the most CS out of the game, 20-3 now, even working under the tower to find it. For the rest of LGD, there's a big grouping here in the jungle nearby. I'm curious to see what they're looking to do with this. Jin Q, his bottle's up. He's very low. He's got to be careful. It's going to be maybe who's going to snack up the bounty rune there at the top and walk away.
Yeah, Jin Q's still sticking around. He's got a couple more bottle sips, so actually going to be able to get back and healthy. Not going to walk down and grab that haste, actually. Just wants to stick around and keep on leveling. Going to opt to run a Bottle Crow instead. Does want to get to this level 6 as fast as he possibly can so that they can rotate potentially one of the supports over and look for a kill on the Shadow Fiend. So I think that's the big reason why he's choosing not to go for the rune there. Yeah,
we're on King J chase cam right now with his haste rune to see where he's going to end up, but it looks like he's just going to use it to quickly get to this stack over here and make it a triple stack. So top lane though, here's Zhao 8, throws out the coconut. We'll connect onto Mr. Bingo here, but he still has that time walk, so he's doing fine. He's leveling up the time walk, it looks like, as he puts 2 points into it, then the 1-1. And he's making the best of it here. Don't get to see your off-lane Faceless Void very often, but he seems to be finding his way, at least for now. 15-3 CS, level 4, looking to move on to level 5 at 5 minutes in. Not too terrible. And bottom lane, though, Yao. Uh-oh, here comes the orb walk from U9. One more, could get it. Uh-oh, but it could be a return kill. In exchange, it will be. Though U9 was able to bring down the Bat Rider first, he benefits from that XP, but at least I guess Bat Rider's just happy to take him down in exchange.
Bottom tower is under
yeah,
attack.
You see another big reason why the Viper is so good against Bat Rider there. Not only because Bat Rider can barely trade hits with him because his base damage is so awful now, but also Viper can just willingly run into Firefly to proc Corrosive Skin on the Bat, and that just slows him down even more and makes it totally inescapable, even if you've only got 1 or 2 points in poison attack. So it's a very, very good matchup for the Viper.
Yeah, Bat runs into a bit of a struggle, but he has got delicious treats waiting for him in the woods nearby. Look at this sweet and delicious stack that's been built up for him. So he's gonna go to work on that. Nope, never mind. I'm gonna go back to bottom. So, well, makes me look like a fool, but he shows up and he immediately gets welcomed from a little bit of a nuke and the Viper. As they were trying to pressure this tower, but I guess he wants to just kind of work with the creeps here instead, first and foremost, before he does opt for that jungle. Meanwhile, mid lane, ooh, quick ball lightning back. Narrowly avoiding the cask right there, but it looks like Jinq will be fine. He's gonna, for efficiency's sake, drop down the null, bottle up a little bit further, and he'll just have to deal with the pressure. He is level 6. We'll have to see how long he wants to wait before he looks to kind of go into some early aggression here. As he'll just kind of park himself there for now. King J, though, this Vengeful Spirit's been all over the map. She's still level 2 at about 7 minutes in.
Yeah, Zoom bought up a pack of sentries, and they got off a pretty valued D ward. Managed to spot the fact that somebody on LGD made their way over and planted around there, and also just came in and got rid of that right away. So makes it very, very difficult to place any kind of pressure on the Radiant mid lane if you're LGD. It's hard enough to gank as it is, and when you can't see anything up the hill, especially at nighttime, it's just even worse.
Bat Rider back in the jungle. Maybe he's like, I wouldn't mind that stack, but of course they're going to be handing it over to Yao. He's got 1k gold, and I think he just is going to be roasting everything up real quick. So looking to push on forward. He'll get that blink, probably a smoke thereafter. Look to get a first gank attempt with it, and they have plenty of follow through with it. They leave Zhao Wei in the bottom lane for now, trying to get this Witch Doctor some time to get some levels together. Getting that Death Ward certainly would be a nice thing to have hand in hand with your Bat Rider lasso. So he'll work with what he's got, but not going too aggressive here. This Viper, if he does something like that, he'll get a hold of you. So you better hope TPs are coming, otherwise you are dead, Zor, and he does go down. So now the Coconut bouncing between the two of them, maybe shows up, throws off a couple of raises, and gets the return kill. Beautifully done. Zhao Wei, his last dying wish was that cask, and it was enough to lock him there and allow maybe to follow through with a return kill.
No muss, no fuss, just raises and maybe picks up some very easy kill. Picks up a very easy kill there. He's got the beginnings of his mech as well, making its way out right now. He can definitely play. You're gonna jump in.
Oh, almost was able to get off the Requiem, but he's got the Vortex, but won't have it for that. They get the quick sheep, double raise. He's looking to man up, but it's a disaster for him. What looked like a supple Shadow Feed treat is unfortunately turning into a bit of a feed. And that was
and
they're
going to pop the...
Yeah. Did they get anyone with it? No. I don't know.
He wanted the Shadow Fiend, but no.
Not happening. He's fine. Maybe back in base we'll heal on up, and he's going with the mechanism build. Forget that Yule's crap.
He's just tanking up. He's trying to survive the Storm Spirit ganks. It's the same thing that we talked about in the previous game. He also now has the buddy system going, where if his supports are sticking nearby, then they shouldn't really be able to be picked off by the Storm all too easily. One thing we haven't talked about too much this game is the ridiculous synergy that LGD have with their supports and their cores. The Witch Doctor is great with the Bat Rider because you can just drop down a Death Ward on a target that's been lassoed and find an easy kill that way. Death Ward synergizes really nicely with both Stone Gaze and the presence of the Dark Lord, so Aghanim's Death Ward could be totally crazy. This game, same story for the Mass Serpent Ward, same exact synergy with all the physical damage. And then obviously Shadow Shaman goes hand in hand with the Shadow Fiend for potentially taking down Roshan. So the fact that they've gone for these big physical damage supports in their two ultimates really lines up very nicely with the rest of the draft.
Yeah, you definitely make a strong point there. Lasso Pull also gets him in face first into Stone Gaze, but MMY's in trouble top lane. He just gets easily run down and taken advantage of. It's Zex Bingo who's able to pick up the last sit on his Void, so he steps back and away. Scoring the Orb of Venom Horrorman shield for now is 1,200 gold, but there he's able to finish up his power treads. But at that same moment, your Bat Rider, he's got his blink, but he can't afford the dank. Can't afford the smoke, the good stuff. So his buddy Zhao Wei, he's going to be the guy who hooks him up here, it looks like. As he did purchase the smoke, probably handed it off the Acquire. He certainly did. And, well, the Zeus Souls come down.
Scouted.
Yeah, now they might be able to see. If they got to him and they clicked on him, they would see he has a blink dagger now.
Unfortunately, now the Thunder God's Wrath is on cooldown, so they can't actually see the smoke coming to a lane, which I think is just that's more along the lines of what they were hoping to spot out there. You know, and doing his best to play this very defensively, and they're going to bring some help down bottom as well in the form of LPC. So it looks like they've got a pretty solid read on which lane LGD are making their way down to, and TongFu are laying a trap, in fact.
Hello, King J. There's your debut of the Blink, and it's a success. Yao gets his kill. It's a support, but he walks away. Oh, Chrono gonna get dropped. Does Bingo have enough? 1, 2, 3. Well, Viper shows up, makes it a lot easier. And hell, even the neutral creep getting on the action there with a shockwave. Can't KS it, unfortunately. That would have been hilarious, not gonna lie, but not happening. TongFu do get their kill. That was the first Chrono of the game, and that's also a success, and it looks like he is gonna go right for the Mask of Madness. He's able to put together a Morbid Mask after that grab, and now we're evened up 5-5.
Yeah, TongFu are, you know, picking up a couple of items here and there, but I feel like the clock is still somewhat ticking for them. Shadow Fiend's getting really good farm. Medusa's getting totally uninterrupted farm as well. Sylar opting for I don't know, a pretty... His build is sort of across the board. Some people you see go really heavy into the mana shield so that it takes almost at least 3 heroes to come and gank them to get any kills. Xingqiu does manage to find MMY over in the jungle.
A little support grab, gets some help from his local Zeus. No big deal. Yeah. Carry on.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's got a little bit of the Mystic Snake, a little bit of Mana Shield, a little bit of Split Shot. Not really committing anywhere. No points in stats, notably, which some people do favor on Medusa for a little bit of extra farming speed sometimes. But yeah, I think this works out just fine. The one really nice thing about the Zeus with the Storm Spirit is that popping Thunder God's Wrath, if it finds a support by themselves, you just throw the super long range zip and get that kill every single time. So the scouting information does actually benefit Storm Spirit a lot, and means that the LGD supports do have to be pretty scared if they're off on their own.
Here comes LGD. They smoke and go right into TongFu territory, but I think their chance to catch anyone is past. They do take this time to plant down a pretty aggressive ward, and they'll have to walk away with that. It looks like they could end up going for a trade here. This bottom tier 1 looks pretty appetizing, while TongFu make a go at the mid-tier 1 here. So this looks like a subtle trade. Both teams committing the full 5-man. I say that, but here comes a couple of early rotations here. It looks like LGD want to put a bit of a defense, while Xingqiu is just up to the north. He's actually farming the LGD jungle. I wonder if they're going to go for a wraparound play here. It looks like Chronosphere is back up and ready to go. But they're not able to get the tier 1 as a trade. So LGD walk away with a tier 1, but not the same for TongFu, and your Blink now going to be complete on your Shadow Fiend.
Yeah, LGD played that so nicely. They came down bottom lane. They didn't find any kills, so their ideal plan was, okay, we come down, we find a kill. TongFu can't put up any kind of a fight, and we go and take their tier 1 without dropping the Mass Serpent Wards. The backup plan was, okay, we dropped the Mass Serpent Wards, but the little thing that they did was, after they dropped the Mass Serpent Wards, everybody backed off into fog. Everybody completely disappeared off the map, and it meant that TongFu couldn't in any way commit to get even more damage or, you know, force out a glyph on this mid tower, just because they'd let the Mass Serpent Wards do all of the work. So regardless of where LGD actually were, they perfectly threatened that they were all immediately at the tier 2 mid, or, you know, they TP'd one person and then had 3 or 4 smoking around from the side, and that keeps TongFu away from finding any semblance of a trade there. And LGD is going to go straight into Roshan now.
Yeah, it feels like LGD, they went on an expedition to try to find a fight. They couldn't find a fight, so if you can't find one, maybe you can get one to come your way. One of the best ways of doing that is just move into the Rosh, get it started. But they get it completely for free. No objection coming out from TongFu. They just are more persistent on trading that mid-tier 1 tower, which typically is a good access point to contest a Rosh, but now that Rosh has been done, it's a bit of a different story. So a bit of a wash as far as the additional bounty goes, but now it's LGD who benefit with the extra life, and that is going to be going to what looks like maybe on his Shadow Fiend, so now he can afford to play a little bit more reckless if he'd like. So we'll see if that's going to be the case or not.
I think the question for LGD is whether or not they actually need to go and do anything with this Aegis, or if it's potentially worth it just to have Sylar continue to go and hit creeps. I mean, I feel like they're lineup-wise, they're not really in any kind of rush, but they do have a little bit of a lead to use at the Aegis, so we might see them go for it.
They do make the jump on the maybe. Remember, he has the Aegis, so... Oh, the Chrono will be committed for it. Thunder God's Wrath as they catch Sylar under it as well. Here comes the second life, and... Well, that's just going to cost them an Aegis. So a Chrono and the Thunder God's Wrath for an Aegis. I think LGD are fine with that, so without worry of Chrono, they just muscle on forward down this mid lane, and they'll go for a tier 1. TongFu obviously not looking to defend, at least not with their cores right now. Storm Spirit up at the top. He's going to look to farm there, and on the bottom, you're going to see your Zeus making the best of that, but it looks like they will end up rotating a couple of back here. You have King J and U9 just kind of waiting by the tier 2. They're going to commit for the push. This is why you wanted to do the Shadow Fiend, or not the Shadow Fiend, the Shadow Shaman over your Lion. They're looking to just keep moving forward with objectives, bring in the early gold boost to hand it over to someone like Sylar and your Shadow Fiend, and then they can be dominant sooner than later. It looks like this tier 2 will also go down uncontested.
This is one of the biggest problems with Faceless Void when... During the early to mid game, when your Chronosphere is down, you just don't really contribute anything, and Chronosphere for only an Aegis there was definitely not the kind of trade that TongFu were looking for. And with the Mass Serpent Wards up, LGD can definitely punish. They can now go back and look for some more farm, finish the Force Staff on the Batrider, start finishing up this. I don't know if I'm not sure if Sylar is going straight Scotty here or not. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
I guess it is going to be. I mean, he's got so much gold banked. If it was going to be Manta, it would already be Manta. But
yeah, I think that's a safe assumption. Just keep that sword as a reliable Yasha for now. But if you can afford to move forward to a big stat booster like a Scotty, then have at it. So I think Sylar feels comfortable kind of going down that road, and he could end up crossing paths here with a Faceless Void who's got no mana for a Chrono and still needs 10 seconds before it's even off cooldown. So he's like, I'll take these creeps from here, and you just kind of step off, okay,
Yoink.
buddy? And oh, okay, well, smoke pops out here from TongFu. Pop out the global. They see where they are, but they are already far and away. Ugh. TongFu going to be coming up short with that gank attempt.
yeah, and Storm unfortunately didn't have his point booster or his energy booster along for that one, so didn't really have a whole lot of mana to work with to make such a long zip, especially into a potential lasso. So no kill that time around. LGD still really using the map pretty efficiently, finding farm all over the place. Sylar taking ancients. Still got a couple of camps in the jungle that could have been cleared or stacked, so not hitting 100%, but I mean maybe he's also clearing out a little bit of the Radiant jungle to boot, so they're still getting really good efficiency here.
Yeah, they're definitely getting a lot more out of the map than TongFu are, and that's scary when you're going against a Medusa lineup. I mean, they have one of the best, if not the best, late gamers you could ask for, and you don't want to be falling behind at this point. You want to be taking down those towers, forcing her to have, you know, nowhere really to farm, and when she does go out to farm, she's not feeling very safe and secure about it, but it feels like the opposite right now for LGD. They're just like, we'll do what we want when we want, and what are you going to do about it? As they push down now this bottom lane, they look to go for another tier 2. One of the last 2 outer towers for TongFu. TongFu on the other side, finding objectives of their own, trying to add some pressure towards this top tier 2. U9 working with mid. It's kind of like what we see from most of these teams. They're just going to stay where they are until they feel it's absolutely necessary to pull back with the defense. And with wards already committed, it looks like it'll be another tier 2 handed over to LGD. This net worth graph is going to continue to decline further and further down at this rate.
And Xiaowei going to be pretty happy to get a tower lasted in there. He might even be able to afford a point booster. It seems like a little bit of a luxury for him sometimes to get any kind of items, but he's got them coming his way this game. And it is well worth it. I mean, he's been doing all the supporting, and MMY has been able to grab a Blink Dagger and some Arcane Boots for himself. So Shadow Shaman is looking pretty scary right now, especially if you're somebody like the Storm Spirit.
Yeah. Regardless of what you get, even before you could get something like a BKB to prevent it, just that instant reaction and no cast time is a bit of a headache for someone who's elusive rather as a Storm Spirit. So for now he has an Invis rune, so he'll try to use it to scout out what's happening mid lane. Not a whole lot here for oh, there's the Scotty. Sylar's got it. Oof, scary Medusa here. And, well, for Yao as well in the Bat Rider, he's got his Bat Rider tool belt, both Blink and Force in hand. I mean, for a lot of the other teams, maybe more on the Western scene, you pick up a big item, you're ready to use it and party. Whereas LGD, I think they're just like, we're comfortable with this. We'll just continue to sap up the most of this map, the most of this farm, and when we feel we're comfortable, we'll go in there to the other side. They just like to play things a little bit more safe.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the Medusa, and Medusa is hitting creeps, and all is well. I think if you're LGD right now, but there's another set of mass serpent wards coming up in 10 seconds, so it looks like they are gonna try and look for another building here. TongFu doesn't even seem like there's too much interest in defending this one. Faceless Void still showing mid.
Top tower is under attack.
Man, I'm just so nervous for them. They don't defend this. They're already stuck on high ground defense. And what is that defense? It's a Hail Mary of a Chronosphere, but do they have enough follow-up to get the most out of it? I think even if they land a Dream Chrono, I don't think they have enough to get the job done. Storm Spirit can only do so much from the outside. Zeus can certainly dish out some heavy nuke damage, but I think LGD have just gotten so many items by this point that there's really no easy target. And I doubt that LGD would let themselves get into a position where you get that kind of a Hail Mary Chrono. So, all right. Ult flies out. They see that TongFu, or no, they see that LGD rather, are heading out. And I guess that means they can kind of move out a little bit from the base and farm up. But it's tough times right now. We look at TongFu and their vision. They got two very aggressive wards, but he's feeling a bit ambitious right now. I mean, unless they're going for a yellow smoke to try to catch someone jungling, I think that they might need to consider putting wards up a bit more defensively to see where LGD could be coming from.
Yeah, they still really want to find pickoffs with the Storm Spirit and harvest up a few more Bloodstone charges if they can, but yeah, it's so hard to get all the way that deep into the dire jungle and actually find somebody that you can pick off. At this stage with Medusa, she's just so tanky that you're going to have to bring almost the entire team to bear to kill her. And the other issue is that I think TongFu are very aware of the fact that a bad Chronosphere just means that they lose a tier 3. Unless they catch a couple of people with the Chronosphere and then manage to bring those heroes down, LGD are just going to pick themselves up, heal up, and you know, take full advantage of the cooldown.
I just don't see how it could work. I mean, even when Sylar recognizes the Faceless Void jump, and all she has to do is just hit Stone Gaze. And then even with the, you know, Chrono coming down, he risks petrifying himself trying to bring the bat to her. So I'm having a hard time finding where TongFu can just hit this one out of the park to bring it back. And you know, I tend to try to see the silver lining in most of it, but this looks to be a pretty tough task. It hasn't really even been an action-packed game. It's only 6-5 at 24 minutes in, but you could just see the difference in momentum. And someone like a Storm Spirit last game maybe was just having the time of his life, getting to work with supports, fighting the pickoffs, and now you're Jin Q as a Storm Spirit. Not saying he's a worse or better Storm Spirit, but you could just see with the game he's been put into it, it's not the same story. He's not able to snowball or build up to that potential, and it's going to be a much harder time.
Yeah, nicely played by, I don't know about nicely played there by but he was fortunately in the right place at the right time, reveals the smoke, and then blinks away before TongFu can find anybody, so LGD still have all heroes alive, and maybe he's already just straight into the pit with his shiny double damage to start working this one down. So it looks like high ground's relatively exposed. They're going to have Aegis in hand, and I don't know, it's TongFu.
Gotcha,
like you said, it's all down to that Chrono.
Pulls him all the way up to the other side, and he just dies. I was like looking out for the Zeus, like, well, they don't know what's going on, but maybe if he dishes out the Thunder God's Wrath, but before he can even have the thought process, he just gets kidnapped right there for Yao, and it's going to be another Roche takedown for LGD. No question, no contest, and with that, it looks like they might send some support up to the top here. It's going to be maybe back into his DD room. Raise 1, raise 2, easy farm for him. As he's got Blink, he's got his mech, but now 3,300 gold built up. And TongFu are thinking about an engagement here. Oh, quick Blink away before he could even get the Chrono off. I guess good thing for Bingo not to kind of use it too quickly. But now we see, an obliteration right there as they get a straggler in King J. Your Vengeful Spirit not going to be able to be as lucky on making a quick escape. So that seemed a bit awkward. TongFu actually thought maybe that they could get a jump onto maybe. But, yeah, that was too risky. LGD just finished Roche, and they could have just headed straight north.
Yeah, who can you even jump if you're the Void? I mean, he is definitely going to try and go for maybe because he's not carrying the Aegis, so if they can burst him down before he gets BKB or mech off, that's huge, but it's just going to be so tough with this Blink Dagger, and he's not the Aegis carrier, so he's not going to be the one hitting the buildings. Maybe he'll just be hanging back.
Jump grab onto U9. There's that Death Ward dropped, and it's still going to go, even with the Chrono out there, and it's a death trap for TongFu. As they lose 3, they do get Hao on the bat. Jin Q's going to go down next, and he's out. Viper's out. No buyback. They do use the buyback onto Faceless Void, but it looks like we might have waited longer than the game actually was at this point. Looks like LGD are going to walk away with an easy breezy mid lane set of racks. Maybe somehow gets another DD. Man, this guy's S4 with this runes. And now he's just going to go to the bottom, and that's it. Well, it looks like you're going to get to bed at a respected hour for University tomorrow as this one's done. It only takes 27 minutes. LGD walk away with the series victory.
And they advance into the next stage. That's it. The group is done. Invictus Gaming 3-0, LGD 2-1, and, well, TongFu eHome 0-2, 0-2. It doesn't really matter who wins out of those two, unfortunately. But there you go.
Wonderful stuff. So props to LGD, props to IG as they're going to advance on forward and be a part of that 4-team double elimination bracket. And we'll have to wait and find out what teams are going to be making it out of Group B. I believe that action's probably going to be coming tomorrow with myself and LD, so I'm certainly looking forward to it. But for wrapping things up today, it was a pleasure to bring you the action and all the coverage. And, well, we're going to finish things up. I'm KotLGuy for Beyond the Summit. And, well, Cameron, Basskip, it was a pleasure to have you. Thanks for staying up through the night for me, man. Anything you want to say before we go?
No, thanks as always for having me on. I had a great time, as always. If anybody wants to leave any feedback on the co-casting, they can email me at basskipdota@gmail.com. I love hearing from people, you know, how I can improve, etc., whatever thoughts they have. So that's about that.
Thanks so much. All right, guys, show them some love. And, well, condolences to all you people who thought you were about to reap in some serious hat bounty. It's not going to be happening, not while LGD are playing. So with that, we're done here. Take care. Look for the VODs over on the Beyond the Summit YouTube channel, and we'll be back later with more Dota action. Take care.
G2A.com, the best video game store ever! Fast as lightning! Solid as a rock! Cheap as duck! What's more, you can sell on it because it's also a marketplace. Remember G2A.com, the best video game store ever!